All right, I believe we're live here, GT. SWH Hockey Podcast number 21. Do we get a thumbs up or a comment from somebody letting know they're seeing us live here? I know Facebook Live is a little different than YouTube, so I'm still not 100% comfortable with it yet. But if someone could, one of our many fans out there can reach out and let us know that they're seeing us online here on Facebook Live, and we could go from there. Can you check it out on your end, GT?
Yep, looking now. Don't see any, see some followers, but not sure if anyone is.
Oh, yeah, we got looks, sounds good. All right, good. We're on here. Thanks, Todd. All right, Glass Half Full Productions, SWH Hockey Podcast number 21, bringing you straight from Long Island, New York. Tim McManus here with GT, Greg Thompson, the mayor of roller hockey. What's up, GT?
We're back, Tim. We're back. Another exciting week of roller hockey talk.
Yeah.
You know, reviewing some divisions, some state wars, and we got some other cool stuff going on today that we'll be talking about as well. So it's a good day for roller hockey.
Oh, 100%. Notice you got your Gumball Head shirt on there, courtesy of RM. I know sent us all some Gumball Head shirts, friends of ours. That's a big popular beer, friend of ours in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I know you brought some home with you, didn't you, Greg?
I did. I sure did. Yeah, so little background, background story for Gumball Head. We started drinking a couple years back, visiting Fort Wayne and playing tournaments and stuff like that. And I did. I sure did. Is that your end? Kind of got that? There was an echo. There was an echo in the background. Sorry.
Yeah, I turned the volume down as just the Facebook playing there.
Yeah, so we got all our friends that were coming to State Wars hooked on this beer, Gumball Head. It's a local beer, and our friend RM Richie Murado sent us a few shirts before the tournament started, so it was pretty cool. So yeah, no, I did bring a couple back with me. Surprised I couldn't find it in the local beverage stores near me. There's some pretty good places around here that sell like every type of beer, and couldn't find them. And stocked up a little bit and brought some home. So looking forward to having some this weekend.
The way you look today, Greg, I'm not sure if you're old enough to drink. You look like about 12 years old today. What would you, the girl make you shave finally, or what happened over at the house?
No, it was just, want a little change, Tim. Wanted that baby look.
All right.
Yeah, she's like, wow. She's like, I don't even recognize you right now. It's been so long. So
yeah, we first got on there today. I wasn't sure I was on the right podcast.
Yeah, need a little change, Tim.
Yeah, looking good.
How's the morning been?
Good, got up this morning, a little soccer with my little ones, doing a little soccer clinic camp this week from 9 to 12. So I was outside watching her play for a little bit, which is always fun. And came home, threw a couple slices of pizza down my throat to get ready for this podcast. So, it hasn't been too much of an eventful evening. I got to watch a little NHL yesterday. These Islanders, man. We're both Rangers fans here in New York. And, I'm kind of rooting for the Islanders. It's like a mixed emotion. Like, I'm rooting for the Islanders a little bit because, well, I'm from New York, but I really hate the teams they're playing. Like, I can't stand the Flyers, and they're playing the Flyers. But then they start winning, and you hear your Islander friend buddies bragging so much about the Islanders, and you want them to lose. It's like such a battle in my mind about who I want to win that series.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not a diehard Islander fan. Obviously, I'm a Ranger fan, but I'm rooting for them. It's good for Long Island hockey to have a team that's successful. It's only good for the sport here on Long Island, and us. Moving forward with local young players coming through. So I feel like, when a team's really hot and good and, they win a Stanley Cup, I feel like there's more players start playing in the area. So it's a win-win for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely good for Long Island hockey.
Yeah.
If hockey ever gets started back up here in Long Island, it's been kind of crazy here in New York with all the rules and regulations and whatnot. But hopefully, the roller hockey league's been playing, which is nice. Rapid Fire Arena's got leagues going. Skate Safe's got leagues going. I don't understand why the ice hockey guys can't be playing as well, but I guess eventually you're gonna see a lot of these ice hockey leagues offering no check leagues or whatnot or something to get started, which will be interesting. But
so
that's it with
men's league hockey. Is non-contact. So I'm surprised, but I don't know. Who am I? I don't really know.
Yeah, no, it's, I made a joke on someone's Facebook page the other day. We live in lawsuit America.
Yeah.
When you live in a country where people consume McDonald's because they spill hot coffee on themselves, or we live in a country where you could be breaking into someone's house to rob them and slip and fall and break your leg on their kitchen, and sue the the homeowner for that. It just says it all. So, this country has gotten so crazy with lawsuits and liability that I think that's what it really comes down to. People are afraid just to let people do something, worried about getting sued. So
Yeah.
I think the government really needs to step in and just basically make it not suable to be able to say anything with COVID. People want to sign a waiver and have their kid play a sport or go to school or go to an event somewhere. They understand that they're giving up that right. And if something happens to your kid, we always know anything could happen. You could get the stomach bug somewhere, you get the flu somewhere, you get COVID somewhere. It happens. But once you remove that lawsuit part of it, I think you would see a lot more things open. And that's why I think the schools are struggling with school sports and things like that. It's all coming down to liability.
Yeah.
So the government's got to figure out a way to get around that, I would think, because people are going crazy. They want their kids to play sports. So, okay, let them sign something that allows it, and they're willing to give up their right to sue anybody for it, and let's play ball.
Yep. Yeah, hopefully sooner than later. That's for sure. Yeah, so like moving on with the playoffs, what teams are you liking? What games you've been liking? I know we go text back and forth, during games and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, personally, out of the East, I do have the winner of the Tampa series, Tampa Boston, going to the Cup, from the East. West, I don't know. Dallas has been really, really good. But Colorado really took it to them last night.
Yeah.
For me, I don't really know the West too well, but I've always loved that Dallas team. I know they had a slow start this year. They picked up some veterans like Pavelski and Corey Perry,
Mhm.
but I thought that those are huge two big pickups there for them, and it's really panning out right now. So
Yeah, I really enjoy the Canucks. Such a
yeah,
young team. I love Pedersen. I love Besser. I love Horvat. I love JT Miller, former Ranger. But our friends at Nijars are part owners with the Golden Knights, so I got to be rooting for Vegas. Partners with the Pound Pro division there, and great family, big supporters of State Wars and roller hockey in general. So always got to root for the Golden Knights, who
for sure.
game one against Canucks looked unbelievable, and then they got beat the second game. So it's crazy there. And then you see Tampa, the way they blew out Boston yesterday.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see how Boston bounces back from that game, because Tampa finally looked like Tampa yesterday. They're getting going now. So our buddy Pat Maroon's on that team. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a Tampa Vegas Stanley Cup. That would be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, pretty cool. And Boston's not out of it. They're a team full of veterans and some really, really high skilled players. And like we always say, they probably have the best line in the NHL.
Yeah.
Losing Tuukka Rask hurts them for sure.
Yeah.
But Halak's been solid. He's been solid behind the pipes. But yeah, back to the Philly Islanders series. It's been good. That some comeback by the Islanders yesterday, and to fall like that to the Flyers, that takes a lot out of you for sure. But if the Flyers would have lost that game, I'd say the series is over. But I think we have a good series now.
Yeah, I made a comment to you and some of our buddies on our group chat yesterday about the Islanders that I compared them to our sniper team. The snipers, when we fall behind in a game, we're a much different team than we get the lead early. And I thought the same for the Islanders. They get a lead and they play a very suffocating defense that really frustrates other teams. But yesterday, the Islanders, they shocked me and impressed me with that comeback. I didn't think they had it in them to come back from down 3-0, and they scored 3 unanswered goals to tie that game, to only lose in overtime. But that was a pretty good statement from the Islanders yesterday. But well-coached team. As a coach, I always like to give credit to the coaches. Barry Trotz has done a wonderful job with that team.
Yeah.
Really put a good system in place. So our buddy Dave Hammond says hello from all the way over in Namibia. Say hello to him out there. We hope things are better in his end of the world than they have been here over the last few months. That beautiful country, and it was great having the Bibians 2 years ago at State Wars. Hopefully have them back real soon, Greg. Missed having them this summer and all our international teams.
Oh, of course, right? I mean, they brought so much passion, pride to the sport, and just gave a little spark, and their talent level is really, really high. I was really impressed.
Some of those female
I-
players, Greg, those young girls,
Oh, unreal.
they're unreal.
And I have a feeling a lot of those teams will be playing up in a AAA, AA level next time around for sure.
Yeah. They come
Also
over, they don't know
before-
what to expect,
Yeah, no, for sure. Also, before we forget, Tim, let's do some birthday shout outs.
Okay.
Yeah, so today's Joe Shaw's birthday from Florida, our friend Joe Shaw. Happy birthday to him. Lisa Kujawa Levine, Matt Levine's wife from Colorado. Happy birthday to her. Plays a big part in State Wars and Team Colorado, and she helps out big time with a lot of the youth teams. So happy birthday to her. And yesterday, our good mate and pal Gary Duran's, he had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to
he had
him.
a pop or two.
I think more than one, that's for sure.
Great guy, Gary. Love Gary.
Yeah, great guy, great passion. He's always been a huge State Wars supporter. So, and our friend Fred Corbeil from France. He's actually a Canadian Frenchman who coached Team Canada last year and has played many of years with Team Canada, both WHF and Fears. So happy birthday to him. Aliera from the Palma Levada Golden Knights, female player, Team USA captain. Happy birthday to her.
Don't forget Rob Morgan. You mentioned Canada there.
I was gonna say Rob Morgan, our old friend Rob Morgan from Toronto, Ontario. Happy birthday to him. He was Team Canada's junior coach last year, and hopefully we'll see Rob soon. I know he's in and out of the sport right now, but hopefully he'll be back in it next year. Yeah, those are my birthday shout outs for the roller hockey people. I'm not sure if you had any as well, Tim. I know yesterday was a big day as well in your house.
Yeah, my middle one, Casey, had her 11th birthday yesterday. My wife, Kim, has her birthday on the 30th this Sunday. And I didn't realize till just now that our buddy Dukes, Chris Padula's birthday is on Sunday as well on the 30th. Cody Page as well on the 30th. Chris Austin, another New York 35 and over player, on the 28th. Mr. Waring on the 28th as well. Mr. Neer, Tommy Neer's dad, Tom Neer. See, he's coming up soon as well. So a couple of the dads in our sports birthdays. And Julio Lemoyne, our buddy from Columbia, his birthday's on the 30th as well. So 30th is a pretty big. Oh, and Jim Redstreak as well. So that's a pretty big day around the sport. August 30th. And as you know, Greg, 30 is my lucky number on the roulette wheel because of my wife's birthday. So 30's been pretty good to me over the years.
Yeah, I've seen you hit that quite a few times. Down and out, couple dollars left, old reliable 30, and it's come up big a couple times for you. So.
Nothing better, right, Greg, than get these on the 30th as well. So 30 is a pretty big. Oh, and Jim Redstreak as well. So I got this volume again. Sorry. Nothing better, as you know, getting to that roulette wheel, and you throw your money down on that first one and you hit it right away, right? It's just like scoring the first goal, right? You just feel so comfortable right there. You got some money then, and then you feel like it's going to be a good night rather than you sit down and you're miss, and you're digging back in. It's tough. When you hit one early, it's like I said, it's like scoring an early goal in a game. It's a great feeling.
It's a good comparison there, Tim. Good comparison. So yeah, you want to move on to some State Wars talk?
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's talk State Wars. So, let's start. Last week we talked about some of our younger divisions. Today we're going to cover a couple of the younger divisions, the 09, 08s, 07s, and we're going to jump into the women's division and the senior AA. And in about 15 minutes, we're going to bring on a special guest here later on today, too. We're going to talk about some big news in the sport. And I won't get into it yet. We're going to leave that as a little bit of a surprise for a little bit from now. Let's talk about the 2009 division, Greg.
Okay, 2009 division.
So it was an 8-team division this year. We had a couple teams from Illinois, the RHL teams, Dan Castanes' group. We had a Pennsylvania team come out. Jamie DiDomenico brought out a group from out there in the Philly area. Dino Verone had his New York team. And then the Border Cats had their 09 group, Matt Koleski coaching. The Gremlins from Missouri, Peter Dale's Wisconsin team. And then we had our Virginia buddies, the Rink Rat Patriots, come out for a pretty well-rounded division.
Yeah, really good division there. And no surprise, IRHL, they They stood out as always in that division. I know last year they had a tough go in the semifinals, but they came back stronger than ever. And yeah, it's crazy because either one of their teams could have won the division. I mean, they both are pretty even, the green and white team. So
Yeah, they were 3-0, both teams going after the round robin.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure the white team beat Pennsylvania in a round robin game, and then Pennsylvania came back and beat them in a semifinal, playoff game, and played IRHL Green in the final, where IRHL, took it to them a little bit. Just a really strong team, and they're getting really, really, really good at roller hockey. These kids, they've been playing a lot more, and they have some great coaching, like we always state. So. Really impressive to see. So many great young players coming out of Illinois right now, and Pennsylvania. Hats off to them as well. They played a great tournament and just came up a little short.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the top players, leading scorers from different teams in that division. So Lorenzo DeGate from the IRHL Green team led the tournament in scoring, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. Pretty impressive. 3 games.
Yep.
And then Deshaun Wilmoth, he led the Border Cats from Michigan in scoring with 10 points. Brandon Sue led the white IRHL team in scoring. Tied actually Will Johnson, our buddy we talked about the other day from he played with the green team from the 2010s.
Yep.
Damon Datlow, a good buddy of mine, Andy Datlow's son, playing for Dino's New York team. He had 8 goals, no assists. So Andy, we got to work with him a little bit on that, sharing the puck a little bit more, but he's definitely a great goal scorer on that team. Luca Stafari and Matthew Keeley tied with 8 points for Pennsylvania.
Yep.
John Doe, it says, for the Gremlins team. So that Gremlins team was a team that didn't play.
So there's 7 teams.
Yeah, that's what that was. So yeah, the Gremlins team we added in there because it was a New York team supposed to come out, a second team. They wound up just bringing one because of the stupid quarantine rules here in New York. One of the teams dropped out because the parents didn't want the kids to miss ice hockey practice in July and August for 2 weeks, so they couldn't come out to State Wars, which will be a topic for another day. So we dropped down to 109 team from New York. So, but that New York team did good. Datlow and a couple of kids from the top team that were going to come combined with the other team, and they did really well. They had a tough start of the tournament, but then got going, and that Datlow kid, when he gets going, he could be a one-man wrecking crew at times. I know he went out to tours, did really well. I think he played with Peter Dale's team out there. He's got a lot of offensive ability. And then, Peter Dale, I think Cole Lau on his team was his leading scorer with 3 goals in the tournament. Actually, no, Keaton Kizlauskas, whatever you say that. Was he the 2010 kid, Greg?
I'd have to double check that.
Okay. So I think he was just 09. Keaton. Okay. Keaton Kizlauskas. Okay. Yeah, he led the team in scoring as well in that team. So yeah, a lot of good players in that 09 division. The 09 green team wound up winning from IRHL. Not a huge shock there. Again, Dan Costanza's done a marvelous job with these IRHL teams. Yeah,
phenomenal job. And like I said, that white team was right there as well. They lost a tough one to Pennsylvania in the semifinal, 3-2. But real impressive stuff there in that division. Pennsylvania, obviously, always a tough team. That team's always great. So I want to look at their team for a sec here. So yeah,
they split right into AA and AAA for playoffs here.
Top 3 made it to AAA.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, great team there. Blake Brenner led the squad with 3 points against IRHL White in that playoff game. He played great. Lucas Safari had 2 points, and Jake Weingartner also had an assist as well. But yeah, Alex Silva played net for them. He's a first-year goalie as well. I think he's a 2010 goalie playing.
Yeah, he is.
Nines. Just from watching the round robin and stuff, he definitely stepped it up come playoff time. Towards the end of the round robin and playoffs. But he looked great out there. Really stood on his head and played great in that semifinal game against IRHL White.
Yeah, and the AA championship was a great game. I watched that whole game. Having some buddies, Datlow and Dukes' son. Luke played in the with the 09 team, watching those guys play. It was a back and forth game with the Border Cats. You know, Matt Koleski is a good buddy of mine. I'm coaching him with the Michigan team.
Yeah.
So that was back and forth. You know, and New York wound up winning the game 5-4. Zeb Zollinger scored the winning goal in that game. Another good player. And if memory serves me correctly, I believe the goalie on the 09 team took home MVP. He played awesome in that game, and that's Tyler Sapoff.
Yeah.
Right, he's the one that played in that game, right?
Yeah, pretty sure he played that game. Yeah, and he played lights out. So, yeah, that was a great final as well. Real competitive. You know, that's all we can really ask for in that. You know, so you know, hats off to all the teams that competed in the 2009 division. You know, it was a really, really tough division, and you know, I don't know if we could have went 4 teams up there, but yeah, I mean, those 3 teams in the AAA definitely proved to earn their spot there.
I'm not sure if that was the game or not, because by the stats here, it has Datlow scoring, having 2 assists that game, no goals. So I watched him play a few times, but I think it was this game, excuse me, where Datlow had just a remarkable goal where he was on the side of the net. And I think it was Phelan took a wrist shot towards him, and it was going wide, and he knocked it out of midair down, and then took it and tucked it around the goalie on the far end. It was a gorgeous goal, and just so talented for kids that age. And I think Phelan was kind of doing a pass shot towards him as well, it looked like.
Yeah,
it was just a great goal. I think that was the game that happened in, but you know, and then on the Michigan team as well, you know, Wilmar's a good player, but you know, you got some other good kids on that team, you know, Zager and Hudson House, Brady Chippa, you know, you got some different kids on that team. Definitely help out for sure. But Matt does a good job with that team also. You know, it's hard at that age, you know, kids don't want to pass, they want to do their own thing. And I've seen a coach like Matt who's really on top of the kids about moving the puck and playing the right way.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the division. So in the AA division, my favorite game, the 2009 AA playoffs, was a semifinal, Michigan Border Cats versus Farm Tough. That's when Border Cats, okay, they went up pretty big in the first period, and Coach Peter Dale, goalie, starting the second half. And this was a remarkable comeback. I think they came to 1 goal. It was like a 6-5 game or 5-4 game. And Peter Dale pulled the goalie. They came back. They stormed back. Border Cats couldn't get the puck out of the zone. They couldn't score on the empty net. And I watched the whole second period. It was pretty intense. And then Border Cats finally scored a couple at the end to seal the deal. But hats off to Farm Tough. I mean, what a move by that's a power move by Coach Peter Dale, pulling the goalie going into the second period down by 4 or 5 goals. It was pretty remarkable to see. And if they would have won that game, that would have been a comeback of the century. It was pretty sweet. But
yeah, Border Cats were up 5-0 at halftime there.
Yeah.
And then that kid Keaton Kozlowski scored 2 straight. And then Brody Gilbertson scored 1. Emerson Fink. They went 5-4.
Yeah.
And then Ben Peterson scored 1 for Michigan to give him a little bit of breathing room, 6-4. Then Alina Fickle came back, scored another one, 6-5. And then Ben Peterson scored again to kind of ice it and then win the game 7-5. But I was back at the hotel watching that on my computer because you had told me how good the game was going. Yeah. And I popped it on. And it's funny, I thought of that the other day when in the NHL there was a game and they pulled the goalie with like 7, I think it was the Flyers or someone pulled the goalie with like 7 minutes left. And I thought of Peter Dale's move with that. I said, oh, you must have been watching Farm Tough playing the 09 division.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kept you guys up to date. I'm like, oh my God, this is like some comeback. You know, they scored 2 quick ones, make it 5-2. And I'm like, all right, you know, Border Cats, you know, 1 shot, you know, it's going to be 6-2. And all of a sudden, you know, they just kept storming back. It was pretty fun to watch. I'm sure the fans really enjoyed the game as well. But that was a good one. That was a fun one to watch.
No, for sure. So let's jump in a little bit to the 2008 division. So 2008, you know, again, we had IRHL from Illinois, the Blast from Missouri, coached by our buddy Rob Ferrara, Uncle Rab, known more affectionately as Pat Maroon, Phil Maroon, Justin Maroon's uncle Rob runs All-American out there. Good buddy of ours for a long time.
Yeah.
Michigan Bauer Border Cats. Matt Koleski's group there. Long Island 495ers. Snipe, a new team from Michigan playing. Michigan Mavs, another team from Michigan coming out, first timers. The Pharaohs from Pennsylvania, and Farm Tough from Wisconsin. So rounding out a division there. So again, IRHL was 3-0 going into it, and the Border Cats and the Blast with both 2-0-1 going in there into the playoffs.
No.
And I believe this was a division, Greg, that the top 3 teams all played a mini round robin against each other, right? Was this the division we did that?
No.
No?
Nope. It wasn't.
Okay, I thought that was this division. That might have been the 04s, actually, we did that. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
so that same thing as the 2009s. You know, we had a team bail.
that same team from New York. They were playing 08 and 09, yeah.
So we had an odd number of teams. So we had to go 3 teams move up to the AAA, and the rest fell to the AA. So in that one, IRHL again took it to the Border Cats. They won a 9-4 game, but that semifinal was pretty close. It was the Blast versus the Border Cats. 2 fantastic teams. It was an overtime game, and Jack Arnold buried in the overtime to bring the Border Cats to the finals. But yeah, that Blast team, real good team.
Leading scorer Cameron Wilson, 12 points, 3 games, stud player on that team.
Yeah, huge sub player. I know they, we're missing some players. Couple belts due to ice hockey and commitments, and obviously, one of our favorite players of in State Wars history is probably Chase Trumpeter, and he wasn't there as well. So I'm sure that would have helped them big time.
It's amazing that even during a pandemic, you had to deal with ice hockey issues for some kids,
Yeah. In the dead of summer.
People can't miss a practice meanwhile the games aren't even being played. Warren Bruckman from the Border Cats, he had a good tournament as well. 11 points, 7 goals, 4 assists. Colin Height was not there for the 495ers. That was a team that dropped out, so we had them listed as a game played just to fill a spot. Because basically in this division, what we did, one team played an extra game that didn't count just to give an extra game in there to keep the games even. So we had left the 495ers in there. So it looks like they had a game play, but they did not. They were not there. Anthony Bergeron, RHL, 8 points. Colin Verratti, Blast, 8 points. Ryan Costanza, RHL, 8 points. So some really good players in that division. You're starting to see the kids at this age group, Greg, where now some are starting to become real players.
Yeah, I mean, this is where they start maturing. 2008, it's 12 years old. Their puberty's coming, and they're really just starting to come to their own. When they're younger, you don't really see a lot of puck movement and stuff like that. But as they're getting a little older, you see a lot more of a team game. We did see that a lot in the 2009 division as well. But this is really when the players start coming to their own for sure.
That AA final, just Farm Tough just took it to the Pharaohs, foot on the gas. Peter Dale did not let up in that one. 8-0 win. Yeah. And Everett Waltersdorf and Ben Cool each had a hat trick in that game. April Mitnack added 2. So that was all Farm Tough in the AA. And I'm not sure if you mentioned it fully, but IRHL, they won the championship in the AAA. So just another good division. And again, these are the kids that are starting to really start to get it now and become complete hockey players. They're, 2008, they're 12 years old now, going to teenage year next year. They all start hitting that growth spurt differently, and you start seeing some kids that are huge versus some small kids, and it's pretty wild to see how some of these kids are growing.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these kids since 6 and under, so it's pretty cool to see them develop as young players, and watch them grow up as not only as players, but young men and women on and off the rink. So it's pretty cool to see, and getting to know a lot of the families and the players. It's pretty cool to see. We've seen this over the years. A lot of players just starting out as 6U players and going till they're high school seniors. So hopefully we'll see these kids for a long time. So it's pretty cool.
we're gonna bring on a guest, Greg, in a second here. Surprise guest today. So, a sponsor that we've had in the past, pretty impressive technology. Excuse me. The Mars Blade. It's by their website here, they call it a patented flow motion technology, creates a unique rocker that enables all four wheels to stay in contact with the surface longer to improve all aspects of skating, including increased power and speed, as well as better grip and control. The rocker can also be customized according to player's skating style. So, when Mars Blade had first come out, they talked a lot about it was an off-ice training tool for ice hockey players. Throw it on a boot, they'd wear it out, skating around. And to me, it was always a no-brainer because ice is so expensive. So you could off-ice train on a roller hockey rink outside in the cement, have the kids on these chassis, and it was used as more of a training tool. But now they're getting more involved now, where they're going to be on a boot, a real skate, and be marketed more as a roller hockey skate. And one of our buddies who we're going to bring out here, I wish I could do a drum roll here, but he's going to be working with Mars Blade now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the product and what he's got going on. So let's bring our buddy out here right now. Excuse me.
Whoa.
Oh, Lex Luthor's in the house.
Hey, boys.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. So those that don't know who that is, that's Joe Cook, formerly of Alkali Hockey, now with Mars Blade USA. How's it going, Joe?
It's going very well, boys.
Good to see you, Joe.
But you've shaved your face, Greg. I shaved my head.
Well, I'm right behind you, bud. I'm there pretty soon.
I really just wanted to look like Chad Siebel my whole entire life, so I just figured I'd try to give it the old Chad Siebel cut.
Looking good though. You can pull it off.
It's called my COVID cut. I hadn't had a haircut in a while, and I shaved it about 2 months ago, and then it grew back and it looked like a chia pet. So I decided to shave it again because it's just easier.
Your head looks a lot better than I think mine would bald, so I pray I don't have to do that anytime soon.
My wife's not a big fan, but so be it, right?
Yeah.
It's life.
So Joe, I mentioned, I don't know if you heard, I mentioned a minute ago about Mars Blade, about what the product is a little bit. So talk a little bit about exciting news for you, like what you're doing with them now, and a little bit about what's to come in the future with Mars Blade.
Yeah, well, I think, it's, they came to me a little while back, and we were doing some stuff with them on the boot side, obviously. And they mentioned that they were looking for somebody to kind of assist them with North America distribution, sales, kind of marketing, in specifically, kind of the R1. Obviously, there's a lot to do with the O1 and ice hockey off ice training. But it was just, for me, it was just kind of the right time. I spent a little while going back and forth with them. It was really not an overly easy decision for me, since I started Alkali in 2011, and the owner of Alkali now is a fantastic guy, and I love his family, and it was emotionally for me, it was a pretty tough decision. But once I got to know these guys and kind of what they're all about as a company, and really the direction that they're going, both in roller hockey specifically, as well as the off ice kind of training, and obviously there's an I1 ice hockey holder as well, and the involvement of certain investors in the group that they put together. It's a really impressive group of people. And very technology based, which is always incredibly fun for me, because I'm kind of a product junkie to a certain degree. So they approached me, we talked for a little bit. I took a little vacation, and for my wife's birthday we went to the mountains. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and kind of what direction I wanted my career to go in at the age that I'm at, and I just felt like it was everything felt right. It felt like I had positioned Alkali with the company that I was at. We had a new product line. The product line was doing incredibly well. and I felt like I did the right thing and had them set up for Alkali to continue and continue to be successful. And I've got a lot of dogs. It's International Dog Day yesterday, so I couldn't put all the pictures up. But that there were too many. I would have flooded everybody's Facebook feed. But I felt like I had positioned the company that I was with that owned Alkali to be in a position to continue the brand and move forward in a strong fashion. And it was time for me to kind of do something different. So I'm incredibly excited about the technology. I've obviously skated it both on the ice and on roller, the R1 and the O1. The insert technology of having 4 different inserts and being able to customize with a pretty easy kind of set screw on the bottom that allows you to just pop the bottom chassis off and put a different insert on and be able to kind of facilitate what's best for you. There's technology in roller hockey has been somewhat stale for a while. So this product kind of launching on and with the backing of some really strong players, it's really exciting. And for me personally, it's a new opportunity. I'm super excited. I've been on the phone for the last week and a half or 2 weeks with people that I haven't talked to a ton, and it's something new for me to kind of re-engage and speak to some people that not that I've lost touch with, or but just kind of I'm excited. I'm invigorated. I get up every morning. They're based in Sweden, so I'm a 5 a.m. guy now. Which isn't that abnormal at my age, waking up early, but so I spend the mornings working back and forth with the group, the team in Sweden, and then I put my head down and kind of grind away throughout the day. So it's been fun. It's been a nice 2 weeks to start with, and there's a lot of work to do. But yeah, I'm pretty excited and fired up.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool, Joe. Yeah, from my point of view, I see Mars Blade everywhere now, especially during the quarantine. I feel like they really picked up steam. And, every time I go on social media or even YouTube, I always see a Mars Blade ad somewhere. So, they're doing a phenomenal job at marketing. And again.
Yeah, and I think, Greg, to your point, everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, right? So, one of I would say my greatest weaknesses is, first of all, design. I'm terrible at it, which is why I've always surrounded myself with really creative people. But the marketing side of it, it's expensive. It's hard to do, and you got to be focused on it. And I think that they've done an absolutely wonderful job. Even from the beginning, this technology has been out. The O1's been out for I think 7 or 8 years. I think they were back in the day. They were putting samples in tournaments, and guys were skating around in them. So it's not something that's new. I think that the R1 is a really impressive adaptation to the rocker system, and it's patented, and there's an adjustability that's fairly simple. I think in the past, mechanically enhanced chassis were difficult to adjust. This one's really simple. You pop the bottom screw out, the bottom of the aluminum portion of the chassis comes out. You don't take the wheels off. You don't have to do anything. You change the insert, and you go try the next rocker system. Whether you want more heel or more toe. So I think it's fantastic, and they've done throughout COVID-19. Obviously, with the O1, the product has taken off. I've sent them to just through friends of mine that have been asking. There's a number of NHL guys, and I'm not really a name dropper, but there are a number of NHL guys that are using these. And friends of mine, once they kind of saw that the Alkali boot was coming with, and this is before I even started working at Mars Blade, they were calling me like, hey, can we have these chassis for this NHL guy or that NHL guy? And I know like the Calgary Flames had a ton of guys using them in off season. So I think that if there's any positives for our sport of roller hockey and inline skating for that matter that have come out of this has been with COVID has been that where there's been a boom in skate sales. I can tell you that Mission, Bauer, Alkali Tour, they've all exceeded expectations throughout COVID because so many people wanted to continue to train and skate. And I think that's where the O1 for Mars Blade came in. where a lot of ice hockey players that wouldn't necessarily normally skate, go skate or roller hockey skate are looking to skate and they need to train. And the mechanism of the 01 with the rocker ability on the 01 is very ice-like in terms of skating. So it opened the eyes to a lot of people in ice hockey that you can utilize this outdoor skating and to continue to train.
That's great stuff. I know Brandon Hawkins on our sniper team. He was wearing the Mars Blade chassis at State Wars this summer.
Quite a few guys.
It's hard with the chassis because it's not like something that stands out like a boot or something. So someone may have it on and you don't even notice it necessarily just watching a game. It's not something that really stands out to your eye, like a stick or a pair of gloves, So you don't know who's really wearing them. Now, what boot, Joe, is that chassis going to be on moving forward?
So that's something that's being discussed with the team. Okay. Those aren't, fortunately and unfortunately, and probably for my case, I actually like the idea that there's a group that's kind of deciding that, and the decisions all aren't coming out of my desk, which is actually a nice change. Yeah. And it's a strategic decision. That's really the best possible part of it is that, it's not for lack of a better description, a knee-jerk reaction like, hey, let's do this. It's a strategic decision that a group of people get together, look at the financials behind it, look at the long-term branding strategy behind it, and that's the kind of stuff that I love. And this group is incredibly smart. There's a lot of people both in the design team, the engineering team, the development team that are way smarter than me, and that's fantastic to be surrounded by people that I can lean on to ask questions. So, like I said, I get up every day and I'm on the phone with somebody there, whether it's the sales guy, whether it's the R&D guy, whether it's the founder, whether it's the COO or CEO, and it's all strategy based. It's all, what do we want to do? How do let's protect our brand. Let's protect the premiumness. Let's make right decisions. And that to me is absolutely perfect. And that's why I was gravitating towards them, because of their strategy based, and that is something that is really exciting for me. So longer term, the question is just kind of still out there, and it's a discussion that's ongoing. But for right now, we're selling Mars Blade chassis that are launching with the Alkali boot technology, the Alkali branded boot, kind of co-branded boot, which is kind of how this relationship was begun.
I had dealt with them years ago. Pear I had met, I guess is considered, I don't see the founder, Pear.
He is, yeah. Pear's the original, yes. Yep.
So, they were a sponsor of ours a few years ago, and the hardest part for them was, they're all the way in Sweden, getting to the tournament and the expense of it all. So that's why it's like a perfect fit now with you being here.
Yeah, you get to see the old bald guy.
And I expect them to be a sponsor next year. But hopefully with them involved with us, you being here, it's kind of a perfect fit to hopefully help make Mars Blade a household name in the United States.
Yeah, and I think that throughout the last year, I think that the sales structures and the sales that the majority, not the majority, but a very good portion of the sales were coming from North America. So I think that's kind of how they decided that they wanted a base and kind of a business base here in the U.S. or Canada or North America. There's also, one of the great things that I'm working on most actually currently is setting up some level of distribution for North America, so that when you order online or through a dealer even, there's a base of product in North America, so that the timing of shipments aren't 7 days. How people are today. They want to order something. They want it tomorrow. They want Prime. They want free. So all of that is
that's all Amazon.
All of that is, yeah. Well, that's what I'm spending a lot of time working on right now, is setting up that kind of distribution. We're going through that business analysis, going back and forth between kind of maybe having our own or having a 3PL, and what's the best scenario. And that is something that's on my radar for immediate, job related task, is to set up that sort of 3PL, so that when production is ready overseas, that it, first of all, it takes a lot longer to go to Sweden than it does to the US. to optimize shipping times and customer service. Really, I mean, we want to be a better customer. We want to be better and faster for the customers that are ordering the product.
Okay.
Now, Joe, going back to the product itself. Now, is this truly an ice hockey type player frame? Do you recommend it for everyone? I mean, I don't really know much about the frame. I'm just kind of asking these questions for the viewers.
No, so I mean, no, it's not necessarily just ice hockey players. I mean, obviously, guys that grew up playing roller specifically will benefit from this technology. I mean, the easiest way to describe aside from getting into the actual technology of the pieces in the product, the easiest thing to think about is when you go to the front of your foot, when you go to the end of your stride, or when you go into a crossover or a stop. It's allowing you to hold contact on the floor longer, to create more grip. And even, so in a stride, it'll be a longer stride, which creates more grip, which creates more power. When you're going into a turn, a lot of times you're on your heel on your front skate and your toe on your back skate. So it's allowing you to put more pressure and create more grip. So no, it's not necessarily specifically for an ice hockey player that's playing kind of both roller and ice. The training mechanism, the 01 specifically, is supposed to simulate more of an ice drive with a rocker, which obviously the steel is rockered. So that is specifically kind of dedicated to somebody who wants to get that feeling, that doesn't necessarily want a flat surface contact point. They want to be able to get more on their toes and feel like they're training off ice, so that it's more simulating ice. But the roller hockey chassis actually has a little bit less play, and you can adjust but with the inserts. So if you decide to use it and you want to almost lock the toe out because you like the heel, you like the ability to put more pressure on the heel, you can do that by changing the insert. If you want more stride length, or you want be able to put more pressure on your toes to hold longer contact on your strides or your crossovers, you'll use something with a little bit more movement in the toe. And then there's one, obviously, that's just kind of standard between the two. It's kind of it's the HAT8 that is kind of the same on the front and the back. So no, it's not specifically for ice hockey guys that are transferring over to roller hockey. It's absolutely 100% for every roller hockey player.
Awesome. So Joe, let's talk, enough with this Mars Blake stuff. Let's talk a little bit about Palma Pro Division and State Wars. I had my probably new head coach, because the guys liked him way better than they liked me. So that's what I was going to say. I know you're as much of a control freak as I am, and an A-type. So how hard was it for you to be sitting home? And for those who don't know, it was Joe's wife's big 5-0 birthday. So, of course, like a good husband, he stayed home and chose wife over the boys, which I think any of us would have done. So he wasn't at State Wars this year coaching his team, but I know he was watching. So I know how I am. And I know we're similar in a lot of ways. How hard was it sitting there in that big, beautiful leather chair you're sitting in right now, watching the team and not being there and just watching things going on, and what was going through your mind during the whole process? Because you've been with that team pretty much every step of the way since it started.
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, I would say, Phil did a fantastic job. I mean, I felt completely comfortable with Phil there. I mean, he's got an amazing hockey mind. I appreciate him doing it. Honestly, I do. And I think he did a fantastic job. That being said, my son will tell you, who was here with me during that time frame, that I was yelling at the screen on a pretty regular basis. Whether it was a turnover, whether it was a missed shot, whether it was Griffin on a breakaway, I was jumping up and down as he's going down the floor on a breakaway, I was so excited for him. But yeah, it was super hard. It was me sending messages after the game. It was, and I was trying not to. I didn't for the first couple of games. I just kind of sat back and didn't really say anything because I wanted Phil to run the team. And so but it's super hard, man. It was incredibly hard not to be texting Spezia or, AK or, any of the guys, or, going, hey, here's what I think you should be doing on the power play. Like, you guys need to do this. It was tough. It was tough, but Phil did a fantastic job. And I think, obviously, like everybody else this summer, we were missing a lot of guys, and, we had some key components that, that weren't there. I think the guys that did go did a fantastic job. You know, our goaltending was good. Laner was spectacular. You know, Westcott was, you know, the new guy, and you know, boy, he can bury the puck as a young fella. And, you know, I think that there were some good things that came out of that. You know, I think over the summer, I know you guys were kind of going back and forth. Krames was with Westcott, and he ended up playing with us because we were light. And, you know, hopefully that stays the same, you know, because he was a kind of a diamond in the rough that I know you guys knew about, but I didn't know him. Phil knew him. So, you know, I think he's a pretty spectacular young guy. And whether he lands with whatever team he lands with, but that, you know, kind of seeing a kid like that come out in this situation and get a lot of playing time on whatever team he was on was kind of was a really nice carrot for the summer. I thought he was fantastic. And, you know, the rest of the guys played incredibly well. It's just, you know, I mean, sometimes you guys know how it goes. It's difficult to win. That's a hard tournament to win.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of strange things happen during that
we
tournament.
talked about last week with, you know, certain guys missing different teams, and for you guys, you know, you're missing two of your top defensemen. Obviously, an electrical player in Loggins up front. You can't replace those guys, you know, just like, you know, guys were missing or Palmer was missing. You know, everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I thought your team played really well. I mentioned it last week. They were right there again. You know, I did think Phil added some passion on the bench, as we know he does.
For sure.
And you know, he took a lot of pride in the opportunity for sure.
I mean, he was doing things, Timmy. He was doing things that I don't normally do, which, you know, I mean, like you and I've coached together, and I mean, it's you know what I'm like, and you know, I need somebody on the bench with me that kind of highlights or takes over the weaknesses that I have as a coach and kind of and pushes them the things that I don't do. You know, I'm not the guy running up and down the bench smacking guys in the back of the head. You know, that's just, you know, I'm in game and trying to manage the game and the shift times and, you know, trying to match lines and making sure in certain situations. So that's where my brain is focusing. I don't have a lot of time to go chalkboard a guy or I obviously we have the time, but it's not where my head's at on a regular basis.
Right.
And I think even with you, when you and I coach together, you know, I get all excited about the power play and I want to shoot myself on the penalty kill. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. So, you know, when you took that over and you had a passion for that, and, you know, so it was kind of perfect. I mean, it strengthens my weaknesses. And I think Phil does that for me. You know, I mean, he's a passionate guy. He's texting guys, what are we having for breakfast in the morning? I'm coming over to the house. I'm bringing you breakfast. We're having a pregame meeting, you know, like, so all of those kind of things. You know, and as you guys know, when you're at a tournament and you're coaching and you're working the tournament, you know, you're at the rink at 8 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever time you're there, and the games aren't till later. So you're kind of focusing on your job while you're at the tournament. It's a difficult thing. So Phil has been a great asset for our team. And, you know, and obviously he's an incredibly enjoyable idiot to be around. You know, he's a lot of fun. So, and, you know, what he's going to do that's different for me is, you know, he's going to get in the guy's face and, you know, he'll call you out. And, you know, I'm more of the guy that's going to try to go down the bench unless it's Cody Kettler, who I'll punch in the face if he does something wrong and he knows it. I'm going to go down and grab a guy, kind of, you know, put my arm around his shoulder and try to be gentle. But Phil's not that guy, which is again highlighting my weaknesses and filling them with what Phil is, and it's a great thing for us. It's a great thing for our team.
You know, we both know as coaches, you know, when you're a coach, you're basically like a psychologist. You know, you have the guys that you have to coddle and tell them they're great, and you have the guys who you have to get in their butt a little bit and scream at them and whatnot. When you played, what kind of player were you? Did you need to be coddled by your coach, or did you need a coach to kick in the ass?
So I'll give you a perfect example of that, and this is how I try to handle as a coach, because it happened to me as a player. So my freshman year at Miami, I was coming off of a year in junior where, you know, we had Eric Lindros and Pat Peake and Brian Ralston, and there were a lot of future NHL players on that team. And we went like 63-1-3. I mean, it was insane. And, you know, we had a successful year. It was, you know, points were easy to come by and, you know, everybody felt great about themselves. So there wasn't a whole lot of being barked at on the bench when you lost one game all season.
Right.
So when I went to Miami, that year, I think we went 5-29-3. My first year at Miami, and I was out of shape. I came in, I wasn't prepared. It was all 30 years later, 20 years later, well, almost 30. You kind of recognize when you get older that, hey, it was probably my fault. But back then, when you're 20 years old, you're thinking it's the world's fault.
Of course.
So I made a lot of mistakes, and I was an offensive defenseman, and our coaching staff was more defensive minded. So I would try to do things, and they just weren't successful at that level. So but I would come to the bench, long story short, but I would come to the bench, and it would primarily be like, just somebody in my ear, like telling me everything I did wrong. You know what I mean? Like there was never any positivity. It was just, and part of that was the environment that we were in. We're getting our ass kicked every game. So it was just,
Coaches are frustrated too. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, kind of fast forward to the next year, my second year at Miami, there was a coaching change on the D, and it was a younger guy named Drew Famulak, and obviously I was in better shape. I was ready. And we went 18-17 that year. But the one thing that I remember specifically, in my first year, I had 1 goal and 9 assists. My first year at Miami, and that was coming off a year in junior where I had 115 points as a defenseman. So like you can see where my mental state was, and I scored that first goal on my first college shift. So I mean, I didn't score the rest of the season. So I was just, and that was what made me like I was a point like I feel good about myself and I'm putting production up. So my second year, we have a coaching change behind on the D side. And it's a younger guy, a grad assistant from the first year. And he kind of got me as a player. And, not that I didn't make mistakes, because I pretty much made mistakes every shift. But when I came to the bench, he would say, hey, when you're doing this, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Like you can't try to skate the puck out of the zone. You got to put it off the guard. Yeah, all these things. But then he would always leave me with something positive. Like, hey, but great job getting back, or great job finding your guy in that situation, or blah, blah, blah. So you kind of go from shoulders down to shoulders up. Mm-hmm. And I ended up having 43 points that season, and it was 100% mental for me. So I had a coach that was in my ear. I was down on myself on a constant basis. And then I had a coach that was hard on me, but would also leave me every single time with something positive. So he would build me back up. He would break me down and build me back up. So
I guess to answer my question, you needed to be coddled a little bit.
I needed to be not hammered on a constant basis, if that makes any sense. So, I mean,
you needed a little bit of ball, a little massage, a little bit. Joe, you're doing great.
Yeah, and I don't, I wasn't the player that, thought that I wasn't making mistakes. I wasn't arguing with my coach like Kettler argues with me, but, you as a human being, you need to be told, hey, nice job once in a while. But, so you can't just, and any player can't handle just being butchered the entire time, every game in and game out, shift in and shift out, because you're just going to feel like you're a piece of shit, and that's not okay.
That's why I can't imagine being an NHL coach or even some other sports and pro sports. Where you're dealing with multimillionaires, and now you got to get on them about their attitude or how they're not working hard or whatever. It's got to be. That's why I give John Tortorella a lot of credit. Because he's one of the few guys you see, he still gets in guys' asses about stuff. And he has results with it, but it's not easy. As you know, we dealt with that with Team USA a little bit. Some of the guys, you know how it is when you're winning and you're doing well, everyone's so happy and it's great. And, it's kumbaya. Yeah. Then you lose a game or someone's not scoring a goal suddenly. And now you see the other side a little bit. And then you got to figure out how to handle guys' egos a little bit, which is not always easy. Yeah,
I think that's I think that's just natural. I mean, it goes for employees and employers and, every outlet. That's the great part about sports. I mean, every outlet in your life, you have similar situations, whether you have a boss that's hard on you or, or you're the boss and you have to figure out and see and figure out what motivates your employees. I mean, sports is just a microcosm of real life. And that's the great part about it. There's wins, there's losses. You got to figure out how to deal with defeat and successes, and
how to work.
Yeah, and yeah, most importantly, I think, you got to work with people that you don't necessarily like, or, in the same thing on a hockey team or a baseball team, you're not going to be best friends with everybody, and that's okay, but you got to figure out how to survive and work together.
No, for sure.
And that's our kids your kids are in sports, my kids were in sports. And I mean, it's an important factor in their upbringing, and whether it's sports or whether it's, being on a chess team, I mean, you're like, whatever it may be. It's important to have wins and losses, man. It's important to figure out what makes you tick.
Well, think about it, and you make a great point about real life. If I'm building a work team, I want people that are going to want to work hard, and I want to build people to take pride in what they do and want to be better. And who better than an athlete? If you're playing at a Division I level like you did in ice hockey, or for your international team or captain of Team USA like Greg, you're playing at the highest level, you're putting work in. You're not just getting there because you're lazy, and those are the kind of people you want to surround your work team with. So that's why you see a lot of people do recruit athletes for a lot of these jobs, because they know what kind of person they're getting. And it says a lot about character.
I think it has a lot to do with the role that you're putting that person in. I mean, if you need a grinder, and somebody, that's been through, and if there is a win and loss in their whatever sector of the business they're in, but at the same time, I think that, there's people in business that, don't necessarily have to be athletes, obviously, because it's a specialty of some sort, that there aren't, and I mean, I think, I guess the gist of the point is there's hardworking people and there's not hardworking people. And it's a very simple identification. Regardless of whether they're an athlete or not. I mean, you're either going to work hard or you're not going to work hard, and you aren't going to try to skate by, or you're going to grind it out. I think it's a matter of just people wanting success, and wanting to be better than they are today. And that's why, surrounding yourself with fantastic people and people that are better than you at certain things is a great outlook on life. I mean, that's, you've got, I mean, Greg's the best looking guy in the sport. And I mean, you got to have a good looking people on your staff, right?
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
That's Greg's asset, and his teeth come out, which is fantastic. Good bar trick.
And my kids like that. Like my kids used to come
Greg.
over, bring a friend over, come down, and they always like, Greg, take your teeth out, show so-and-so. Like that was like the family trick for all their friends when they came over.
Yeah.
But I think, Joe, that's one of the things that's always frustrated me about roller hockey specifically, is over all the years, Greg and I, we deal with a lot of rinks, through our business. And, we're reliant, as you were, in your business, with the rinks and the sport, the health of the sport and how it's growing. And we're only as good as the rinks. And I've always felt that a lot of rinks around the country would hire people that they just don't want to put the work in. They would work at a rink. And unfortunately, roller hockey is not a sport like some others where it just sells itself and there's just people beating down the door to play. You got to get out there and work it. And they would work at a rink, and they wouldn't put the time in, and they just sit down on the desk with their feet up and hope people will come in the doors. And when they don't, they'd say, sport's dying, and they would just go out of business. And I always found it frustrating, because then I would look at areas where people were putting the time in and they're getting the results. And like anything in life, you got to put the work in. And like, CJ Yoder's opening a rink now in Colorado. And that makes me feel so good, because I know, besides the fact that he's a great guy and he's great for the sport, I know he's going to work that rink, because that's his livelihood now. He's into it. He's vested. His kids are young. He loves the game, and he's going to grow that rink, and those are the kind of people we need. Dan Costanza is doing the same thing in Illinois. Peter Dale's done it in Wisconsin with his program. You need people that are motivated to grow it, for it to grow, because all the areas that we see it and guys are putting the work in, the sport has grown in those areas.
Well, and I think that the important part about that is, like you're doing now, is highlighting those people, and making sure that those people that are grinding the right way and building their businesses, they can't keep it a secret. I mean, there's got to be outlooks and outlets like you're doing here that enables people to hear what successes and failures that people have had that are grinding, and maybe there are some things that these people that aren't can learn from the people that are winning or are having successes. I think that it's important to highlight those successes like you just did with the people that you just mentioned. Guys like Jay Muro who are in his rink probably 20 hours a day grinding away, and he's had fantastic success with what he's done over the course of his career. And then finding smaller venues, which is why State Wars is so perfect for it, because there are so many different states involved. Places in Tennessee that have had success that you wouldn't expect. Kentucky and I remember one fella, I think it was Nebraska, that was rolling teams in for a while, and you're like, Nebraska, like how are we getting 7 teams from Nebraska to come to State Wars? So highlighting those kinds of successes, and guys like Rob Ferraro that have done this for a long time and have had great success. I mean, I think that you should have that symposium, and that podcast of getting a group of rink operators together and telling their stories. And maybe it's a sequence of events or a sequence of podcasts, because it's important for people to learn from other people's successes and not keep it a secret, and not compete with one another because they're within a 50-mile radius or something, and they want to hold it. I mean, if all of us want this sport to succeed, these rinks need to be positive, and they need to grow. And we need and podcast and the tournaments and the organizations that are a part of this need to tell the story as to why they're having successes.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, Timmy, if a guy's going to be lazy, he's going to be lazy, and his business is going to fail. I mean, just like yours, if you weren't doing what you guys do, you and Greg and your staff, if you guys weren't doing what you do, your business would fail. I mean, it's about effort, and you either have that or you don't, and it can be learned, and it can be infectious, and you can create positivity out of other people's teachings. So, having some sort of, and I'm sure you've had guys on that run and operate rinks, but almost having kind of a potential symposium, like over the course of the next month, we're going to highlight, rink operators and what they're doing successfully, and those kinds of things would be fantastic.
Well, it's funny, Greg and I have seen it in New York firsthand. You live in California, which is kind of always kicked ass in the sport. New York's like a perfect example. When I started way back in the day when, mid 90s, we had a ton of teams on Long Island. I would go to an arch tournament with 14 sniper teams, and then when I got out of coaching, Jay Muro was doing more, and Anthony Violante with the Roadrunners, they started building up, and there were a lot of teams. But then there's about a 5-year period with State Wars specifically where New York, right, Greg, was kind of dead. Jay or Vio had a couple older teams, but they didn't have much with the youth. And Vio had gotten a lot of teams going to Norwich with kids from all around the country, so it wasn't as many New York kids. So the sport had kind of died a little bit here for a bit. But now the last few years, you got Dino Verone, who's gotten real involved with the 495er group. Tons of kids playing. Derek Kern, his kid starts playing. He's got his whole ice team came out to State Wars again this year.
New Kraft.
Corey Gindi, one of the dads in 495er dad, who's got a rink in his yard, real involved. He got a bunch of kids involved. This family, the Botkins and Akif with the older group, Chris Hoysick, buddy of Baltimore.
My man.
So he's gotten a group of kids with Ziggy and that, and that's what it takes. People have to put the time in. And once they do, they come out and everyone's in love with it. Like Derek brought his kids last year, 3 or 4 kids from his ice team. This year, they all wanted to come. You just got to get them there, but it's putting that work in. And usually it's one of 2 things that drive somebody. Either their kids are playing or they're making money,
Yeah, for sure.
So, you get people involved and they put the work in a little bit. Tyler Kraft mentioned Florida on our chat here, Wilfredo, we bust Wilfredo's chops. He puts the work in Florida. He loves it. He's doing his Florida Cup. He's doing this, he's that. I don't know what the heck he's saying half the time, but he's positive about it. He loves it.
He's passionate. There's no question about it.
What's that?
Yeah, he's passionate, and again, I mean, he loves it, and he's passionate. He loves being around the sport, the people in the sport, and he's done an incredible job. Out of kind of nowhere, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, I'm seeing all over Facebook the Florida post, and he's got TK down there with Crafty down there with him,
Mhm.
And you know, I mean, and you know, even I think Steven, Campbell is doing his jerseys and different things, and there's a visual of it. So I mean, he's surrounded himself with really good people, and he's passionate, and he's teaching them to be passionate, and and I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great what he's done, and we need 75 people like him doing the same thing all over the country. 100%. And you're right. Like when I speak to him, I'm like, huh, huh. I look at Greg normally when I'm like, what's he saying?
Yeah, it always takes a couple of minutes just to kind of think about what he's saying. But, going back to get the new crop involved, the younger players. Obviously, we see a lot of the ice players coming over in the summer and playing, but we need these kids playing in the rinks, and that's the biggest problem is these players are not playing in the inline facilities. They'll go to a practice here and there, get ready before a tournament, but they're not playing a regular league there. And that's where the big issue is nationwide here in the States that, these kids aren't playing rec league roller hockey. They're just kind of enjoying it in the summertime, playing some tournaments, and that's really it. So that's a big hurdle we gotta get over there.
Well, and I think that's part, Greg. I think that's guys like Nick Smolinski, Fraser Roller Hockey, the new rink in Detroit. I mean, Nicky's doing classes with young kids, and he's giving back, and he's doing an incredible job. And I think that it's the old guard, which you are now a part of, Greg. The old guys. It's our job. I mean, we need to get together and not dictate, because it's just but we need to get together, the guys that have been in this for 100 years, which there are many, and just kind of figure out what's next and how we do this as a group, because it's not this isn't an individual thing. Like, Mission Bauer obviously pumps the most money into the sport, but they can't do it by themselves. Chad at Tour, they're promoting the sport and they're doing great things. But, I mean, we as a group, guys and getting guys that run rinks and getting them involved in this process, the Dennis Jelsiks of the world that have been operating rinks for a very, very long time, Rob Ferraro, Benny out here on the West Coast, the guys that are running facilities.
Yeah.
And just getting together. I mean, and Timmy, we talked, often about maybe doing something, at some point in the year in Vegas, and kind of bringing everybody in and just trying to have an open discussion about the sport and what works for guys and what doesn't, and really be humble and try to learn from one another, because, what Wilfredo's doing is a perfect example of what Wilfredo's doing in Florida. I mean, he's having success, and I mean, I don't know if he's making tons of money or just breaking even, but I mean, the sport itself is visually better there because Wilfredo's there. So, having that, having him tell his story of, kind of how it started and what he did that, hey, he had success with, and the same thing with the Ralph Ferraros and, and the Dennis Jelsiks of the world, and the Ben from, the West Coast out here, having those guys in a room and us hearing it and how we can help, and, and the dollars and cents that we have and can put into the sport. We need to come together, and we really need to just kind of everybody put your egos at the door. And let's go figure out how we can help these guys that are operating rinks, whether it's the tournament guys, whether it's the manufacturers, whether it's the NGBs of the sport, like let's kick them in the ass a little bit and get, the fears and the international component involved. There's a lot of things that we can do, but, somebody's got to kind of grab this by the horns and say, hey, look, and hopefully COVID's over soon. Who knows? But, maybe first quarter of next year, we're in Vegas and having a two-day 50-person discussion. And, I mean, how much fun would that be, first of all? But second of all, I mean, especially now after being locked in my house for 8 months.
Yeah, PBC just said he's there. He'll be in Vegas with us. And you guys share a barber, he said.
Who's that?
Messina.
Oh yeah, perfect.
I think Greg brings up a good point, and the hardest part today for rinks is youth sports have become such a year-round machine. And Joe, when you and I were young playing, and we're a lot older than Greg, most sports weren't year-round. We played multiple sports, right? We played every sport there was, and now especially these ice hockey kids, most of them don't do anything else. You know, they're doing ice hockey 24/7. And because the parents pay so much damn money for it, they don't want them doing anything else, you know? And now we're relying on these kids to want to come play at the rink. The rinks almost have to forget about the ice hockey kids because,
Well, that's what I was
know,
just going to say.
you know,
Then,
like NAROL has
then
that problem out here. Is the
then that's
NAROL
fine.
league, which is a great league. I've always find it ironic that the NAROL league doesn't start running until ice slows down and then the tournaments start for roller. So then these NAROL kids can't really go to tournaments because NAROL is going on. But so they don't grow the sport in roller, but they don't want to have it in the fall when there's no roller tournaments going on because then they got to deal with ice hockey and a lot of kids are playing ice. And I've always find it ironic that it's a roller travel league, but they're worried more about ice than they are about the roller tournaments. But I get
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
and
it's business, Timmy.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's business, man.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
I
you
get
gotta go to the clientele that you know exists. You know, I think that, you know, there's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than you and I, that have had
A lot of people
successes
smarter than
with
me.
that have had successes within other sports, within other, you know, athletics, and, you know, trying to get players to play lacrosse and not baseball, or building new lacrosse players or building new baseball players. I think that that's the key is we need to reach maybe the kid that isn't playing ice hockey. And if the ice hockey player ends up playing, it's a benefit for us.
Yeah.
And it's an outlet that's fun for them. But our goal should be creating new players, new roller hockey players. And if they venture off into ice when they're 9 or 10 years old, so be it. Well, let's build more 5 and 6 year olds, you know, 5 and 6 year old players. And I think that, you know, all of this theoretically is fantastic, but how to do it, I think is a group discussion with the people in the sport.
Right.
You know, you and I've had a million conversations about this, and I'm sure you and Greg have had 3 million because, you know, you're together every day. But there needs to be a group. There needs to be a group formed that can facilitate training mechanisms, paraphernalia, how-tos, you know, what successes and failures and what works and what hasn't. And that is a much larger group of people that have different situations. You know, Florida might not be like Ohio. You know, right. I mean, it you know, and Denver might not be like Texas. You know, I mean, it's about facilities and so on and so forth. So I think that having a cross-functional team that gives us the ability to really hear everybody's successes and failures is the key. And who better than you to do it? So, you know, I'm putting the onus on you, my man. Like, get it, you know, I mean, honestly, you're in touch with the most people in the sport. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, you have the furthest reach. So, I mean, you know, you're talking to rink owners, you're doing tryouts all over the country. You've got multiple states involved in your tournament. You've got international people involved in the tournament, and you've got manufacturers that have your ear, right. Or whose ear you have. So, you know, I think that, you know, I'm going to put the onus on you and your cohort down below you there. So, I mean, it's something that needs to be done, and I'm more than willing to help in any way, shape, or fashion that I can. And I know that the rest of us that are in the roles that I'm in are more than willing. And I mean, if you ask Dennis Jelsic or Wilfredo or Benny or anybody around the country that operates a rink, they'll be there. They will. I mean, you know, and so will all the other tournament guys. So we need to figure this out. If
it's near a casino, Dennis will definitely be there. We know that for sure.
I'm not going if Jelsic's not there. I had the most wonderful, crazy Dennis Jelsic phone call yesterday. I made the mistake of doing a FaceTime call with him, and I will never do it again. I was absolutely mortified. He was by the pool. I'll just give you that much information.
Yeah, I saw something he posted about that.
He's absolutely insane. He's absolutely insane.
At least he wasn't on a beach filled with rocks. That we had to look at those pictures for a month while he was in Croatia. But
he's literally that. I will say this out loud. Look, he's my favorite person to be around at tournaments. I absolutely love him. His energy is, and even when he gets crabby, he's great because I can make fun of him when he's crabby, and I don't care if he gets mad at me. So he is the most fun person to be around And that was one of the, I mean, aside from seeing you guys, and your two beautiful faces, and my team, one of the hardest things for me this summer was every summer I look forward to seeing Dennis at State Wars, because I know I'm going to go in the morning. He's going to be fired up. He's going to hammer me about something, who knows what. We're going to go back and forth all day long, and then he's going to give me a hug when he leaves at night. So it was disappointing for me not to be able to see him this summer.
No, Dennis did a good job this summer. He stepped it up. He didn't quit during the tournament, which he's known to do, especially in Fort Wayne. So that was always a positive.
I think it's hot there. It's too hot for him. He just gets crabby.
Yeah, he's very sensitive, But Joe,
passionate. It's not sensitive. It's passionate.
Okay. We'll call it passion. But no, Joe, loved having you on. Don't want to waste your time. We're going to get into some of these other divisions in State Wars, so we don't want to hold you on during that.
Quick, Joe, before you do sign off, where could I know Mars Blade was sold out a lot during quarantine. Where can players get these frames? Where can they go? Can they go to a store?
Yeah, so there's a couple of outlets, dealers in the U.S. that have them, the larger dealers in the U.S. that are online, but they're back in stock now on marsblade.com. You can order them with wheels, without wheels. They're obviously complete with boots and wheels and chassis available, or you can order the O1 and the R1 specifically and have them mounted. We're looking at longer term, trying to get a mounting service where you can buy the mounting service online, and then take it to a participating dealer in the U.S. to have it mounted, because it's one of the issues that a lot of guys get them and they're like, oh, I got to go get them mounted, that kind of thing, right? So we want to try to make that process. That's one of the things that we're working on, trying to make that process a little easier, so that you can buy the service and choose the location at which you want to go to do it with. But it's getting participating dealers involved. So that's one of the things that we're working on. I appreciate you guys. I mean, Timmy hit me up this morning, and I appreciate you guys. I know Mars Blade's not a sponsor, so it means a lot to me that you guys would have me on to discuss what I'm, my new venture, the company I'm working for. So I truly appreciate that, you guys doing that for me.
Well, Joe Cook's been a partner of State. You've been a partner of State Wars, Joe, since the first day, 2005. In wearing many different hats, but it's about the people we're involved with, not necessarily the brands, people. So we're proud to have you as a close friend and a partner always. So appreciate all you do.
Thanks, boys. Thanks, boys.
It's a good
luck.
We'll talk to you soon.
Vegas 2021. Let's go. Get it done. I'm putting it out on Facebook. The onus is on State Wars. Let's go.
Then we'll get back in that. We'll do that Ferris wheel bar again, maybe. Right?
No chance.
Yeah.
Never again.
I got to pull it.
Thanks, fellas.
Buddy.
See you,
Thanks,
Joe.
boys.
All right. All right, that was Joe Cook, formerly of Alkali Hockey, now with Mars Blade USA. Going to be great things for Mars Blade. I can see in the future, Greg, with Cookie behind the wheel.
Yeah, they're lucky to have him, because Joe's wore many hats, in the sport, and he knows everyone. He's good at what he does, and he's been through it all. So to have Joe, on board with them, it's a good move for them for sure.
He'll be wearing a lot more hats with that head he's got going right now. So
I'm gonna pull up a picture shortly of our time in Vegas and get it up for everyone to check out.
Oh, that was great on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
We were on this Ferris wheel. A lot of people probably heard of it there. I forgot what it's called.
A high roller, yeah.
Yeah, what is it called?
A high roller.
The high roller. And you have your own personal little bar inside, a bartender, and you're in your little thing with a few different people. It was not the greatest thing in the world, but it was definitely something different to do one time. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. I'll get a picture.
I know Pete Messina will be there in Vegas for sure too. As our accountant, there he is. He was there with us there. That's Joe making an important phone call. Pete Messina, myself, and Mr. Thompson at the high roller. But Pete is our accountant. He'll be there going over the books with us in some regard, I'm sure. So a little pie gal, maybe.
A pie gal.
So let's move back to State Wars here. The 2007 division, Greg, was an 8-team division. We had the Missouri Murder Hornets from Missouri, the Michigan Bauer Border Cats, Michigan, Farm Tough again from Wisconsin, our friends from Virginia, the Rink Rat Patriots, Colorado had a couple teams, the Tour West Coast Warriors, the Rink Rat Colorado team, IRHL from Illinois, and the Nebraska Sizzle.
Yep.
So Missouri, the Hornets, and the Border Cats were both 3-0 heading into the playoffs here. And Farm Tough and Rink Rat both went 2-1. Excuse me, with the top 4 going to the AAA and the bottom 4 going to the AA.
Yep. Yeah, so Murder Hornets obviously won that AAA title, 2007. And I had them winning before the event started. You know, just looking at their roster, is really strong. Border Cats obviously are right behind them.
Great game, though, Greg, that final 6-5 championship.
It was a great game. I'm pretty sure, just want to refresh my memory here and look at the stats, but pretty sure, yeah, the Murder Hornets are up, yeah, like I thought. And Border Cats came back, you know. Border Cats scored the first goal of the game, and Murder Hornets scored a bunch more after that. And then, you know, Border Cats came back towards the end, but didn't have enough.
It didn't help the Border Cats. I think they had 6 straight penalties in the second half of that game.
Yeah.
So that can never help.
Yeah.
6-5 game. Always battles between Michigan and Missouri, that Midwest kind of battle there.
Yeah.
Cash Solier had 3 points. Trafton Bello had 3 points in the championship game there. Dalton McKinster was the goaltender. From Missouri, Lucas Kempf led the team with 3 points. Marco Bacardi, Gavin Simon both had 2 points. Aaron Tinker was their goaltender. But yeah, just a great championship game, 6-5 win for Missouri.
Yeah, that's a great one. Farm Tough played great as well. They fell short to the Border Cats in the semifinals. Just want to pull that score up. I think it was a 5-3 game, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 5-3 game. You know, another great battle between them. And
the AA was a battle of the Rocky Mountain State.
Yeah. Tour West Coast Warriors battled Rink Rat Colorado. And, you know, honestly, looking back, I think the Rink Rat Colorado team should have maybe moved up and played in that higher division. You know, they were a pretty good team. So
It was a 5-4 win, though.
It was a close game.
Yeah.
It was a close game, definitely. But I just thought, you know, I think the Rink Rat team was just a little stronger, a little older, and they had a lot more speed to the team completely. They had a really complete team, and I think they could have done pretty well in the higher bracket as well. So, but no, it was a great final.
Yeah, for Rink Rat there, Mitchell Miller, Ethan Crosby, Connor Daniel, 2 points each. Damiano Venturi in net. And for the Tour West Coast Warriors, CJ Oda's group, Nico Kraus, hat trick and an assist, 4 points in that game with the big scorer. Tommy Pashley in net. So, yeah, Battle of Colorado there. You know, and even in that semifinal, the Nebraska Sizzle, who struggled a little bit during the tournament, they only lost 2-0 in the semifinal. So, you know, pretty good playoffs all around in the 07 division.
Yeah, totally. And I know the West Coast Warrior team, they you know, they looked younger than the Rink Rat team as well. The Rink Rat team did pretty well overall with the prizes. I know they, if they didn't sweep the skills, they were pretty close. They might have not won one competition. I had that online. Let me double check here, just to get my facts right. All right, history. Yeah, so 2000s.
We had a tie, by the way, Greg. Lucas Kempf and Marco Bacardi both had 13 points.
Yep.
And then you went into the playoffs there, I think, right? And even the playoffs, they were the 2 leading scorers there. 6 points for Kemp, and Bacardi had 5 points to play. So those 2 players pretty much dominated that division.
Yeah, they tied completely in points. So they played pretty well going to the championship. Yeah, I can't find the skill stuff handy, but yeah, they had a real good team, you know. So.
And then the goaltenders, Dalton McKinster, 810 save percentage there, and Aaron Tinker right behind him, 8.800. So those Missouri, Michigan teams definitely pretty much dominated that division.
Yep. Knew that going in. You know, they had some strong rosters. And I do like that Murder Hornet name. You know, when I saw it coming in, I was laughing. And their jerseys were pretty cool too. So
I know I heard the 07 Michigan team, our buddy Phil Saunders' son Wyatt had broke his arm before the tournament. So the 07s are missing him that tournament out there. Always a pretty good, solid defenseman out there for those guys.
Yeah, he was coaching, you know, on the bench.
So let's move into the women's division, Greg.
Let's do it.
Always an exciting division at State Wars, and a dad of 3 daughters. I always love watching the girls out there wheeling around. So Rink Rat Republic, who going in arguably the favorite. You know, they've done really well in our tournament. Obviously, in my opinion, they have 2 of the best players in the game. Laura up on offense there, plays Team USA, arguably the best player on that USA team. And then Jetta Ratcliffe and net, starting goalie, Team USA. So when you build a team right away and you have, in my opinion, the best goalie in the game on the female side, and then if not the best female forward, definitely one of for sure. 8 points she had in 4 games played for Laura. You're off to a great start right there when you can build a team around those 2. And you know, they did well as always. They went undefeated in the round robin. They were 3-0-1, and they had tied, I believe, Palma, excuse me, who had tied 2 games during it. Palma went 2-0-2, tied 2 games, tied the Roadrunners as well. But then, you know, come playoff time for Rink Rat Republic, they went to the championship and lost to Palma 2-0, which I wouldn't say is an upset because Palma is very good as well. But I'm sure if he has Laura or Jetta, is an upset because, you know, they've done very well in that division, and I think they expected to win. But that Palma team was pretty strong as well. And usually Jetta's the one getting the shutouts. But this time around, it was Frankie Sanchez, 13 shots against, 0 goals allowed. And, you know, Vicky Hune and Alyssa Pugu, our friend from California, each had a goal each in that game.
Yeah, Frankie Sanchez ended up getting top goalie for the weekend, and she also got MVP of the championship game. So she played some great hockey.
Laura was high scorer, I imagine, right?
Yes. Not too familiar with Frankie. Haven't seen her play too much, but she really stood out this weekend. You know, that weekend for the women's division. But you know, hats off to Palma. They played well. You know, Aliera, Kyla Saunders, Emily Doran, Lisa Pogu, Sarah Beer, Vicky. You know, list goes on. Lily Pogu played as well. But yeah, no, they played lights
Former
out.
sniper Nicole Giannino, good friend of ours on that team as well.
Yeah. So Tyler Kraft, actually pro player, Black Ice champion, Palma Pro champion, was head coach of that team, and he brought his good luck to the Palma team, the women's team in the final. So
it's funny, they had talked to me at Winter Wars, remember, about me coaching that team this year. So good thing they went with Tyler instead of me. They got the W.
I'd say so. Yeah.
You look at that Roadrunner team too, Greg. I mean, you got basically the entire Dunn family on that team, which makes up about 6 or 7 kids. So you got Joy and Jinsey, Jessica, Josie, you know, Kristen Berger was on that team, Sushi Allen, Sarah Sinning, Jamie Lushka, you know, just a good team all around there as well. And Mariah Trupp in goal, you know, played well as well. I mean, in 4 games played, they were 2-1-1. And, you know, every game was pretty tight for them. Just didn't win the big one in the semifinal, but they had a pretty good tournament. They lost 5-0. That was the only game that they kind of struggled into Palma. After they had tied Palma 1-1 the first game of the tournament, they lost 5-0 in that morning playoff game on Monday.
Yeah, that was a tough one to watch. I watched that game. I know the Roadrunners went up early, 1-0, but the goal got disallowed. I think it was an interference call for no goal, and then from there, Palma just kind of, you know, put their foot down on the gas pedal and put a couple home. But it seemed like the Roadrunners just didn't really have any answers for them. So
And Aliera, 4 points in that game. You mentioned her before, another Team USA player, and Kyla Sanders had 2 goals in that game as well. So good effort all around for those girls. So congratulations to Palma for winning this year. They won a few bucks, and
I mean, and honestly, Team Careless, they were in it as well. They have some veterans on that team that they always compete. They had a great goalie in Nicolette Frank, who I saw playing 35 and over. The following,
awesome.
She played great.
Great goalie. Really nice girl too.
Very nice girl. Great goalie.
She wrote us a great email after the tournament about how great the facilities were to deal with, and the ushers, especially at the Coliseum, made her feel very comfortable. Playing in the men's division, gave her own locker room, and I think one guy gave her candy, she was saying, and it was just so sweet to her or whatever. But I watched her playing you guys and stuff in 35 and over, and she was arguably the best goalie in that division. I mean, she played phenomenal.
She played great. Yeah, even that semifinal against Carshield, I heard she played great as well. So, hats off to her. She stepped it up.
That Michigan team, they had a couple more skaters. They'd be a little deeper. It's hard with 6 skaters playing. I mean, they got some good players. Nowicki's good, White's good, and Cottrell, Malty. They got all great players, but get a little tired with 6 girls. The big rinks out there. Yeah. So I think they go with 8, and then you get that Gremlins team from Missouri. Obviously they struggled a little bit. Next year, I'm sure back home, Missouri, they'll be a little bit stronger. Exactly. But, Jessica and Kayla each had 2 points for those guys on that team. It's a tough division. Usually we were able to have a couple more teams with the international teams and split for the playoffs. This year, with just 5 teams, we couldn't split. So they're more of a AA team. A couple of those other girls are a little more AAA teams. So it was definitely tough for Missouri, but I give them credit for hanging in there and giving their all.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, overall, I thought that division was really tight. Anyone really could have won it. And semifinals on, it was real competitive hockey, and it's always fun to watch the women's play.
Absolutely. Let's talk. The last division we're going to mention today is let's get into our senior AA division, which, in this tournament, when we put it together for the year, I was assuming, about 6 AA teams. We wound up with 14 teams in the AA division, which was a real shock to me. And just showed you how many guys are just dying to play hockey and get out there and play. It was a really good division. Yeah. When you see teams like the Connecticut Coasters, New York Supreme, Detroit Stars not win a game in the round robin, and they're all pretty talented. There's some pretty talented guys on those teams. Just speaks of the strength of this division. But Carshield, which is always the favorite going in, and Palma were both 3-0 after the round robin and leading the way. And then you had the Rhinequist Express, our buddy Nick Okada's team from Ohio. They went 2-0-1, along with the DSC La Beta Devils, Scott Ives, Shane Fox. They brought a pretty good team from Jersey out, and they went 2-0-1 as well. Then you got the Mud Snakes from 2-1, another Missouri group. George Collins, Phil Maroon, we mentioned him earlier. Their team, always a tough team to play. Some characters on that team for sure. Then you had RDN, the Roller Dad News Group from Colorado, went 2-1. Average Joe's, Mark Hager's group from Missouri, they went 2-1 as well. Yep. And then you had a pretty tough Wisconsin, pretty impressive Wisconsin team, Greg, Flossen's boss.
Yep.
Yeah, they went 1-1-1. Dylan Dale's playing with them, and Eddie Matsushima. Pretty good group there. The Windy City Warriors from Illinois. And Rink Rat Hot as Fire from Pennsylvania, that's always right in the mix. They went 1-2, and then the Spartans from Texas went 0-2-1.
Yeah, and they had a great team, I thought. They were playing well. They were in every game. They just couldn't get over that hump.
Yeah, Zach Zener and the boys. Austin Murray's a pretty good player. Peyton Balderly's a lot of guys that play their whole lives at State Wars for Texas. But you look at the scores here. I mean, they lost to Palma 3-2 the first game of the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. They tied the Devils 2-2. So the first 2 games are at arguably 2 of the top 5 teams in the tournament, and they were outscored 5-4 in those 2 games combined.
Yeah.
Then they lost 8-4 to Wisconsin, and to Colorado 4-2. So yeah, I mean they're a pretty good team. The record can't fool you with that. And like I said, out of those 14 teams, pretty impressive stuff. Even that New York Supreme team, Greg. I mean, we know some of those guys from back home here, you know, pretty good group. They lost only 5-2 to the Mud Snakes. They lost 3-0 to Car Shield. You know, pretty good scores there considering how strong those other teams are.
Yeah, no, totally. You know, obviously a game where they could have won maybe against Shrink Rat Hot as Fire. You know, they kind of shit the bed in that game, I guess. I know they're disappointed in that loss. But you know, Rink Rat Hot as Fire, they're another good team. I mean, that division's tough, and you know, the Coasters, they were a little short guys. You know, they lost some players due to COVID before the tournament started, but you know, next year I can guess they're going to be a lot better.
Yeah, that division is getting better and better. I argue all the time that you could take an all-star team from that division and put them in the pro, and they would compete. Yeah. You know, some really good players in that division, and
yeah,
you know, I think the big upset of the tournament was Palma.
Yeah,
you know, in their first playoff game, they lost 5-4 to Floss and Sauce, Wisconsin,
in overtime.
Yeah, and I know the Car Shields and the Mudcats of the world, just their eyes had to light up for that. Yeah, that was a back and forth, and Mitch Kearns from Floss and Sauce scored the OT winner for a 5-4 win, his second of the game. You know, our buddy Steve Campbell, he had 2 goals and an assist in that game for Palma. But yeah, that was a big loss for Palma. You know, sometimes I'm not saying they had an easy round robin, Palma, you know, but when you kind of cruise through the round robin, you finally have that tough game and it's hard to settle. And I know talking to Coach Rob Tournament earlier in the tournament, he was happy they were 3-0, but he wasn't feeling great about the team, how they were going. Like, he just felt like they were kind of missing something. You know, they have Junior Cadiz out there. They have a really good team. But he just was worried about that first game. And then here you have it. They wound up losing that first game. And then the championship winds up being a Missouri matchup, which you know how those games can get crazy sometimes with those Missouri guys. But Car Shield, led by Hayden Crocker, JP Bealston, and Trent Madison and company. You know, Saman Shah, they just had a great group. PJ Tallow, Marty Gords is a great group. They wound up championship game, wound up being a battle, 5-4, Car Shield with the win.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was a good game. Yeah, back to that Floss and Sauce and Palma game. It's funny. I was actually down at the Sport One Parkview Ice House, down in the middle over there at the tables. I had my computer out. I was doing standings and stuff, and you know, I was watching both games that were going on. 2 intense playoff games going on at that rink. 2 nail biters going on. I got the Floss and Sauce Palma game on my computer going on. And I'm watching all 3 games at once because they're all so good. And then Peter Dell came over because he was helping out with the Wisconsin team, the Floss and Sauce team, and he had to coach the younger kids at that time at Parkview Ice House. And he came over and watched the game with me, and he was going wild when they went up and won. So it was pretty cool. I remember that morning like it was yesterday. So it was there was some great playoff action for sure. My computer going on. Oh, we'll let go. But yeah, tough division there. Mud Snakes fell short. I know they scored pretty late to get the game within 1 goal. Pulled the goalie, just couldn't bury that last one.
Yeah, Kyle Novak scored a late one there. Another great player with them. You know, Jake Barber had a couple in that game. 2 deep rosters. It's amazing. Missouri could have 5 teams in that division and they'd be deep.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much adult talent is out there in Missouri, and that's why next summer, you know, in Missouri, back at St. Peter's Recplex, Missouri's always a big favorite in all divisions, how much talent they got going out there. So yeah, great stuff. Congratulations to Car Shield in the AA. You know, before we go today, Greg, I want to mention Winter Wars coming up.
I was going to say that as well, Tim. Yeah.
You know, and we're jokingly calling it not so Winter Wars at this point. You know, Winter Wars was supposed to take place in March in Feasterville, Pennsylvania. COVID hit, unfortunately, and things just got screwy for everybody. So that March tournament, we had 140 teams registered for that tournament, which is unheard of in an East Coast weekend tournament, had to be canceled, and we've been pushing it back. So the new date set up is September 11th to 13th back in PA. Majority of games being held at Sportsplex at Feasterville, but we'll have some games probably in Marple and possibly at another neighboring rink we're working on, because we have a lot of teams wanting to play. The deadline is this Monday, the 31st. So anyone that's looking to get in that tournament needs to let us know by then, because we're already kind of full, and I'm already trying to figure out how we're going to make it all work there with the amount of teams that we have. So excited to be getting that tournament off the ground, Greg. And then later on this fall, we'll run our fall invitational in November, November 13th to 15th weekend out in Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah. Do you know where that tournament's going to be, Tim?
Yeah, it looks like we'll be holding the fall one in Marple, and maybe we'll have some games at Feasterville as well, depending on if we want to. Usually that's an adult-only tournament, but thinking maybe we could actually have a youth division there as well. So we'll see what goes on come November, especially with ice hockey not really being played much out here. Some of those ice kids might be looking to play some more roller, so hopefully we get those kids playing in November.
Awesome. That's some good info. Great.
So, all right, that's really it for today. We thank you guys for tuning in for our State Wars Hockey Podcast, number 21, Glass Half Full Productions. And we'll see you guys next week where we'll wrap up the rest of the youth divisions at State Wars and our recap. And we'll talk a little bit about the senior A division, 35s and 45s, and some of the other divisions. And yeah, juniors, whatnot. And hopefully we get all on the next one. If not, we'll go 2 more with that. And, a big thank you out to our buddy Joe Cook, coming in and giving us some great news from Marsblade. We wish him the best of luck over there. And GT, always great talking with you on here. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yes. Thanks for watching, guys.
All right. Take care. Have a good day, guys. Be safe.